What's going on, everybody? SpaceBallz here. Welcome back to another Calibria Chris the Guardians video. Today, guys, we're going to be starting our Hydra series, and I came up with a great idea on how we're going to do this. So today we're going to be doing a champion guide on the Pirate Captain, and the reason we're doing a champion guide on the Pirate Captain is because he's going to be in our free-to-play 3-star Hydra team. So for this upcoming week, I'm going to be doing a champion guide on all 5 of the monsters that we're going to be using in the free-to-play Hydra team. So it's going to start off with the Pirate Captain. I was going to use 2, but I decided to only use 1 because I know for free-to-play players, it's kind of tough to 6-star 2 Pirate Captains. So there's only going to be 1 in the team. So for this upcoming week, like I said, we're going to be going over each 3-star monster that we're going to be using in the team. It's going to be a sub 3-minute team, and it's going to have all 3-star monsters, which most free-to-play players will be able to build. And then after this series, I will do some speed teams for Hydra and stuff like that, but I figured this would be a great series to start off our Hydra content with. Now let's jump right into this, because first up on our list is Pirate Captain, because he is just so good for free-to-play Hydra. Even though he's an LD Nat 3, he is pretty simple to get. Now as far as the gameplay goes, I'm not going to show you any Hydra runs, because obviously at the end of the week we are going to reveal the free-to-play Hydra team after doing 5 champion guides on the 5 monsters that we're going to use in our free-to-play Hydra team. So I figured this would just be a really fun series to do with you guys. I hope you guys enjoy it. So let's get right into the build on Pirate Captain and why I chose to build him this way for our Hydra team. So first things up is the general stats here. The one thing you have to remember with Pirate Captain is he is a 3-star, so it's not that easy to get these kind of stats on him, and I do understand that. But the thing about Hydra is, even if you're a free-to-play player, it's still kind of a middle to late game dungeon. So you really shouldn't be worried about Hydra until you have, you know, decent runes, conflict runes, maybe C12 or L12 runes. So you have to keep in mind that Hydra is not something you're going to be focusing on probably your first month or 2 into the game. It's more of a later game dungeon. So just keep that in mind for the build that I have on this Pirate Captain. I know these are pretty solid runes that I have on him, having 100% crit rate, 153% crit damage, almost plus 3300 attack. Now, the speed's not going to matter in the Hydra team too much as long as we move before the enemies do. And I'm pretty sure as long as we're at like 120 speed, we will move first. So speed is not really going to be too much of an issue for this dungeon. Now, as far as his skills go, now I was using him, testing him out as a farmer and stuff like that, so I can show you guys that he also can be a farmer. He's actually really good in Vapor. He's actually really good in Chaotic LAIR. So he does have a lot of uses other than Hydra, and he does have pretty good skills all the way around. Now, as far as Hydra goes, we're going to be using this one here. He will take a turn every time an ally takes a turn, which will keep the debuffs on the Hydra boss. Now, because we're not using 2 of him, every time he takes a turn, the debuffs are going to come off the boss. Now, I will have to do some further testing, but I really don't want to use 2 Pirate Captains for the reason that I know it's a little bit of a struggle for people to be able to build 2 Pirate Captains or want to build 2 Pirate Captains just for Hydra. Now, that would make it easier, but I'm not trying to make it easy. I'm just trying to come up with some type of 3-star, free-to-play, friendly Hydra team for you guys. So this is going to be the passive we're going to be using on him. And it's the God of the Sea turns into a sea owl, which accompanies sailors. Whenever an ally attacks, the owl follows a lightning strike, which deals 75% of attack and damage. Now, we're not too much worried about the damage. You really don't need to skill this up. It's not important because the only thing we care about is that he's taking a turn. So the debuffs kind of stay up until he takes his turn. And then he'll use his A1 and hopefully we'll have the defense break up, which we don't really need the defense break up now that I think about it, because he's going to ignore defense on his first skill anyways, and he's going to be mostly our damage dealer in this team. We are going to have Shadow Wolf and Cypress as well. So if you guys want to start working on those, if you want to get those 6-starred, you know, for the future when we actually, you know, reveal our full Hydra team here. So as far as Pirate Captain goes, he doesn't need a defense break. Now, I haven't decided if we're going to use the flintlock or pirate's balls, because I don't know if we're going to need an extra heal or not. We're going to be using Holy Cleric to tank the boss because she's such a good healer for Hydra. So she's going to be tanking all the heals, and she's going to be giving us the attack buff. So I haven't made that decision yet. So I would pretty much say don't skill him up for now if you haven't skilled him up already. And then once I start doing some more testing on the team, I will come up with the final skill that we're going to use. But both of these skills are actually really good. And this skill here actually hits super hard. It's got a really high multiplier. And for a Nat 3, he really does hit hard, and he gets a bonus attack turn. So both of these skills, you can't really go wrong. It's really going to be depending on if we need that extra heal to keep our 3 stars alive. So that's something I will do further testing on when we actually reveal the Hydra team. But this is more just about his build today, how to build him and how we're going to build him for our Hydra team. And the A1 is one of the probably the best A1s in the game. And as you guys know, everyone puts this A1 on their Yuki because it just does massive damage, and especially on the Hydra boss because he does not have buffs. So it's a matron, is a pirate's best friend. Attack an enemy to deal 170% of attack and damage. If the target has no active buffs, this attack will ignore defense. And that is the pirate captain's bread and butter. Now, also, this skill is really good for farming, which I will show you guys in just a second here. So that's pretty much it for his skills. Now, I pretty much use him just like this, unless I'm using him as a farmer. And then I use him like this. And I also use him like this in Vapor. I mean, I don't really use him in Vapor anymore, but you absolutely 100% can. He's very good in Spire. He's very good in Chaotic LAIR. So he definitely has his uses all over the game, just because of how good his skill kit actually is. I know he's a Nat 3, and he's really tough to get good runes on. I do know that, especially ruining him myself. It was not easy to get the stats on him that I have on him, so I completely do understand that. But just try to get as close to these stats as you possibly can. And he's also got a leader skill, which is 15% attack, which isn't bad for a 3-star monster. So now let's get into his rune set. So now I kind of just went with the highest attack that I can get possible, and also getting him at 100% crit rate and over plus 100% crit damage. That was my main goal here. So it just so happened that I had really good attack runes. And for the 2-piece set, I kind of just went with whatever was the best stats, because as I always tell you guys, stats over sets. And just so happened that this set actually worked out to be the best stats I can get on him. It's not on him for any particular reason. So the 2 set really doesn't matter too much, especially for Hydra. So let's go over the runes here. Slot 1, we got crit rate 19%, speed 7, flat HP, and regular HP. Now, you definitely want him a little tanky because you need him to be able to take hits from the Hydra boss. And Holy Cleric hopefully will keep him fully healed up, during the off turns. So slot 2, of course, is attack, crit rate, HP, and defense. The defense is kind of a little wasted, but it's good to have a little bit of defense on him, even though his base defense is super low because he's a Nat 3, and it's really hard to stack defense on him. So if you were to put defense on your pirate captain, it's better to put flat defense than defense percentage because his base defense is so low. And then his slot 3, hit percentage 20. Now, we don't necessarily need hit percentage because we're not using this A3, and the only thing you need hit percentage on your pirate captain for is this A3 because the slow for 2 turns. It just happened to be on this rune, and this rune also has HP, crit rate, and crit damage, so I just went with it, and it just worked out well because if I use him in different situations, which I'll show you his sanctifies in a second, it's good to have that extra hit percentage on him. And then, of course, his slot 4 is crit damage, crit rate, attack, and the resistance is a wasted stat here. We don't need any resistance on our pirate captain. It just happened to roll resistance on the 4th roll. And then our slot 5, crit rate, attack, and speed. As you can see, there's no wasted stats on our pirate captain except for that little bit of resistance. Everything else is the stats that we are looking for on our pirate captain. And that is very important when you're building Nat 3s. You don't want to waste any stats on your runes because, as I said, it's super hard to stack these stats on your 3-star to begin with. So then our slot 6, attack, crit rate, crit damage, HP, and innate speed. So once again, no wasted stats here because we got attack, we got HP, which we want a little bit of HP because we're definitely going to need him to be able to take a little bit of damage in between turns. So now let's go over rune sets. Now rune sets don't really matter so much, especially in Hydra. You're really just going for stats over sets. Now obviously if you have a good attack set, it's good because it's going to boost his attack that much more. And him having a base, 1500 attack, and that's with him being sanctified, is very, very low. So it's not going to be easy for you to, stack attack on your pirate captain. So just keep in mind, the more flat attack you can get on him is actually pretty good, because flat attack does not go off of percentages. It just adds to the attack itself. So in this case, for your pirate captain, it's actually good to have a couple flat attack stats on him. And I know that's not always the case, but with some 3 stars, it is the case, because if you look at his base stats, like his HP is super low, his attack's super low, his defense is super low, his speed's okay, but we don't really care about the speed. He's only got 15% crit rate, not the 30. So it is really hard to get these stats on him, and I do understand that. That's why I do want to, make clear that Hydra is more of a middle to late game dungeon. Even though we're building a free-to-play Hydra team here, you still need the runes to be able to run this dungeon. So now let's get into the sets here. Now, of course, Blessing set would be okay, because again, we want him to have some HP on him to take hits. Attack set is awesome on your pirate captain, again, because it just gives him that extra attack. Defense, again, it's not, if you have good defense runes, as you can see, I have team defense runes on my pirate captain just because they have such good stats. So again, it just comes down to stats over sets. Agile, we don't really care too much because, again, we don't need speed on our pirate captain because we're mostly using him in dungeons or maybe for farming or in Vapor, and we don't really need to worry about speed because we're not necessarily using him in PvP. Even though you could use him in PvP, you're probably always going to have a better option. Now, Wild would be very good for your pirate captain because it's going to give him that extra crit rate. Destruction would be very good for him because it's going to give him extra crit damage. Now, for me, I kind of like to put my, I don't want to say leftover runes, but my not, triple S tier runes on my pirate captain because he is a 3-star at the end of the day. So I'm not going to invest my best rune sets on him. So keep that in mind. Also, you probably want to go with your more middle tier runes and not necessarily your best runes, because these are kind of just my leftover runes, not runes that I would use on something else or take from like my Archmage or my Eve or something like that. Now, focus would be good on him depending on where you're using him, but for Hydra, you don't necessarily need focus. Stalwart, again, resistant. You have Stalwart runes that have really good substats, then it's no problem putting it on him. Desperation, again, you probably don't want to waste Desperation runes on your pirate captain. Drain runes could be good on him, especially in Hydra, because then when he hits, he'll fill up his own HP, and then you won't have to worry about putting so much HP on him, because he'll always be filling up his own HP, especially the fact that he ignores defense. Now, Frenzy is more PvP sets, so I wouldn't really worry too much about putting these on your pirate captain. Now, Berserk could be really good on him, but again, I don't think you want to waste your really good Berserk runes on your pirate captain unless you're going to switch them back and forth as you do Hydra. But if you're like a free-to-play, mid-game player, you're probably not going to have the best Berserk runes to begin with, and you're probably not going to want to switch them back and forth from your, really good units to your pirate captain. You're probably just going to want runes that you can leave on him so you can farm Hydra as you please. Counter would actually be really good on him. Now, if I didn't have such good Unity runes on him, I probably would have went with a counterattack set. So every time the boss hits him, he'll counterattack and then proc his A1. So counterattack would actually be a top tier set for him. A guard set could be good because it'll give him the shield, but it's better to put the guard set on somebody else. You don't need immunity on your pirate captain. Revenge could actually be pretty good on him if you can get enough HP on him. And then any T runes would be good because you're just giving more stats to the rest of your team. I would say the only one that wouldn't be so great is Fortitude because, again, you don't really need resistance on your pirate captain. But Conflict, Unity, Hit, Prayer, all decent sets that you can throw on him. As you see, I threw a Unity set on him just because of stats alone. It's not really for the set. it's more for the stats. As I always tell you guys, stats over sets. Just remember that when you're ruining up your monsters, and you will do great. Now let's get into his Sanctify here. So I have him on Scorn. Now, I believe it's called Brave. Yeah, now Brave would work just as good, especially if you are putting enough HP on him where he's taking damage. So every time you're losing 1% HP, he's gonna get more crit damage. So that could actually be really good on him as well. I like Scorn, so when the boss gets down to 50% HP, he's doing a lot more damage. I might switch this back and forth and see which one works better, because Brave might actually work better. He'll be doing steady damage the whole time, as opposed to just when the boss is 50% HP. Now, what I wanted to show you from before is, now let's say I take this. This is why it's really important that your 3 stars and your pirate captain is sanctified, especially when you're using 3 stars. Because what I want to show you here is, if I take this off of him, and now you look at his base attack, it's only 1300, and we dropped almost 300 plus attack here. So it makes a huge difference when you're ruining up your 3-star monsters, not just pirate captain. This goes for all of your 3-star monsters. So just keep that in mind, that if you build a 3-star, make sure you're building a second one with it so you can sanctify it right away, because it really does boost the base stats majorly. So I would say you want to go with Scorn or Brave for Hydra. We're going to stick with Scorn for now. Again, as we build this team up, I still have to build my Holy Cleric. I'm going to start doing some testing in Hydra, and then on the final day when we go into our actual Hydra team, I will go over all this sanctified skills and quickly run down the builds again with you guys, so you guys can see what we went with for our final Hydra team. I just want to give you guys a basic idea of what we're going with, and this is a general guide on the pirate captain, as we will be doing on all of the other 3-stars that we will be using. So these are builds that you can use on these monsters, you know, not even in Hydra, in other places as well. It's just a general build for each monster, but I'm kind of aiming the build, you know, I would say 75% towards Hydra. But this build that we have on the pirate captain is pretty much an all-around build for him. So that's why I figured we would just call this a pirate champion guide, because these stats are actually really, really good for him. And I would say this is probably one of the best builds you can put on your pirate captain altogether. So now let's get to some action here so I can show you what he can do and what kind of damage he actually does. Now, like I said, we're not going to take him into Hydra yet, but I will take him maybe into C12. We'll take him into some farming, and I'll show you where you could also use your pirate captain. Now, he is a 3-star, so he's not going to do crazy damage in World Boss. Obviously, 3-stars do the least amount of damage because they're 3-stars, except for 2-stars and 1-stars. But you always kind of want to use 4-stars and 5-stars when you're grinding Thanos, because they're always going to do that extra damage. Now, you could definitely use them in some Inferno teams. You could definitely use them in some Arena teams. Maybe not so much late game Arena, but definitely early, mid game Arena. As far as Vapor goes, if I didn't finish Vapor last night live on Twitch, if you want to follow me there, that is in the description. I would show you a couple runs with the pirate captain, because he does work great in Vapor, especially paired with a Yuki. I can show you a chaotic LAIR run with him, as I showed you in the past, so we can do that. So I will show you that after I show you farming. He can definitely be used in Spire stuff, especially paired with Yuki, because he does massive damage on his 8-1. So let's check him out as a farmer here. You could use him in Pirate Treasure as well in certain teams, of course, because you have to remember he is a 3-star at the end of the day. And as you can see, we are building our Holy Cleric, because she is going to be in our free-to-play Hydra team as well. So let's throw him in where our Lynch is, and let's see how he does as a farmer. Now, if you're going to use him as a farmer, you want to make sure you have these 3 skills on him. These will be the best 3 skills for farming. Now let's take these 3 out because they're maxed out. Let's just throw some other fodder in like we normally would, as if we were farming. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be the best farmer, but he can definitely get the job done. That's for sure. I mean, I have tested a few times already, so I definitely know that he can do it. I'm not saying he's the fastest, but for a 3-star, and if you're early game and you're trying to build, you know, an all-around 3-star, Pirate Captain is definitely one of them if you're lucky enough to pull him. I'm not saying he's the easiest 3-star to pull because he's an LD, but he's definitely not the hardest to pull, because most people do end up getting a pirate captain somewhere down the line because he's a 3-star. So that's why I don't mind calling him free to play friendly, because I feel like most accounts do have a pirate captain. As you can see, they're 24 seconds. All right, let's just run it one more time here, just to make sure it wasn't a fluke and that he can actually get the job done, which I already know that he can get the job done. For a 3-star, he's not a bad farmer. He actually does a better job than some 5-stars that I've seen out there, because his A3 one-shots the first wave, and then his A2 takes out 2, and then he uses A1 to take out the 3rd, and hopefully when he goes into this, he'll have his A3 up, which he didn't there, but he'll have it up the next turn. So as long as he doesn't get stunned, he'll be able to farm this no problem. His A3 is on a long cooldown, so if he does get stunned, it could slow him down a bit. I'm not quite sure why he wasn't using his A3 there, but maybe it has something to do with him favoring his A2. But as you can see, he gets the job done between, I would say, 20 and 30 seconds. So you could definitely use him as a farmer if you invest good runes on him. Now, he's absolutely going to be top tier for Hydra. Let's throw him in a Giants run, and then we'll throw him in a Chaotic LAIR run. I don't know if I have anything built for Chaotic LAIR, but I'll check that out in a second here. But he's the type of monster that you can kind of throw into any of your teams here, especially like all these magics. He'll work fine in all of these magics. So let's just throw him in a C12 team here. Just get rid of all this, and let's just kind of run our normal. I'll try to run something a little free to play for you guys. Now, Vampire, like I always tell you guys, is triple S tier for everything, because this guy is just good everywhere. Vampire is good in almost every single part of the game except for LAIR. Other than that, Vampire has the best A3, I think, in the game, or one of the best A3s in the game. So that's why I'm always using my Vampire. What else can we pair with him here? Let's put him with Windwalker. I just want to try to use something a little free to play for you guys here, just in case somebody's watching that maybe doesn't have all of these 5-stars. Wisp is actually really good because she has an attack down, and she strips the attack buff off the Giant. Where's the Pirate Captain, though? It's very important that we put the Pirate Captain in here, as he is the star of the show. Where is Pirate Captain? There he is. And let's throw Yuki in here, because most people have Yuki at this point. And most people that are worrying about Hydra, I'm sure they're going to have Yuki. I don't want to use Yuki in the Hydra team, but we can use him in the C12 team, because it's really just whatever monsters you have in your box or whatever it is that you're farming. I'm just trying to show you that you can kind of throw Pirate Captain in your mix and he will do just fine. Now, as far as the skills go, it's really depending on what your team needs. Now, we don't need to use the passive, because I'd rather him use the AoE and nuke stuff down. Now, in Hydra, obviously the passive is going to be his bread and butter, but for other stuff, you're probably going to use his AoE A3, which is what we're using here. And as you can see, he works great. I mean, he's not always doing the biggest of damage, but as you saw there, he one-shot the minion, and I'm sure if he hits the boss, he could probably one-shot him as well. Well, the mini boss. He's definitely not one-shotting the C12 boss, but he does do a lot of damage on his A1, and with Wisp on the team, she will be stripping off the attack buff, so the boss will never have a buff on him. So that means our Pirate Captain will always ignore defense. So as you can see, great team. And this is pretty free to play friendly as far as C12 goes. I mean, yeah, we have 2 4-stars, but they're pretty easy 4-stars to get. Then we got our Windwalker, which is a 3-star. We got our Pirate Captain, which is a 3-star. And then we got Yuki, which everybody eventually gets for free as long as you're doing some type of world boss. But the star of this show here really is Pirate Captain and Vampire, because Vampire stops us from taking damage. Actually, Wisp is kind of the star of the show too, because she keeps the attack down and she strips off his attack up. And Pirate Captain is pretty much our damage. Vampire is keeping us from taking big damage, and Yuki is just giving us extra turns. If you're looking for something that's a little more free to play friendly, this is actually a really good team for you if you have these monsters in your box. But as you can see, it's a little slow, but it works great. We're not taking any damage. Boss has a ton of bleeds up on him from Wisp, because that's another great thing that she does. She not only strips and attack downs, she also puts up a ton of bleeds. So if he does take a turn, he'll be finished anyways. And Pirate Captain is just slowly ticking him down. And we didn't even take any damage there at all. Yes, it is a 2-minute run. But again, as you can see, it's super free-to-play friendly. There's no Nat 5s, there's no Archmages, there's no Shamans, nothing like that. And if you're a free-to-play player, you're not really worried about doing, 30-second runs because you're not blowing a ton of gems anyways. So let's see if we can stick him in a chaotic lair team as well. We get anything good? Ooh, I like getting craft stuff. I'm gonna do a video on some crafting probably one of these days. This week will be all about our free-to-play Hydra team and doing these champion guides on all of the monsters. But let me see if we can do something for chaotic. Now, as you guys know, we're using our speed Himinico team. But let me see if I can put something together revolving around the Pirate Captain. Okay, so this is what I came up with. Now, the front line, I always show you guys, this is the front line we always go with. This is the safest front line you could probably use for any of these LAIR bosses. That's why I love this front line so much. Now, as far as the back line goes, I just kind of threw in whatever I had runes on. I threw some runes on my Shadow Wolf, and Eve is always a great option for LAIR because of her passive. So I'll quickly click on them so you can see what we're using. I'll click the skills so you can see them. Now, Shadow Wolf, I just threw runes on him. He doesn't need much crit rate because he gets 50% from his A2. Plus, Cybers is also going to be giving him crit rate. So I just wanted to stack some attack and crit damage on him. And this is all about Pirate Captain anyways. And Cybers, he just got throw over runes on him. These runes are terrible. I just kind of threw these on him for my speed Himinico team. So he's just really holding runes. And Pirate Captain, you guys already saw. But for LAIR, we're actually going to go with this passive because every time somebody attacks, he'll do a little bit extra damage. So we're actually going to use that on him as far as chaotic goes. So let's get right into this. As you guys saw, we didn't take down the guards or anything like that. So I believe this team is actually a really good team for chaotic LAIR. It's not a speed team or anything like that. But if you don't have Eve, I mean, you could throw in a second Shadow Wolf or something like that, or even a second Pirate Captain, just something else that does damage. But you can run this team without Eve. It's just I have her, so I threw her in there because it makes things easier, especially when I was trying to just put this team together really fast, just to show you guys that the Pirate Captain is actually very good for chaotic LAIR. Now, if I had a second one built, I would have threw him in there instead of the Eve. This way I could show you pretty much a full 3-star DPS backline. But as you can see, Pirate Captain does great. I mean, he's not doing, again, massive damage, especially when he has the debuff up. But that's what we have Jungle Heart and Druid in there for, to make sure that they take the debuff off of him. And that's why I love this front line for early game LAIR content. And that's why I've been sticking to it since I started Calibria probably about 6 months ago. This is the front line I always tell people when they say, oh, I'm just starting LAIR, what should I use? And I always start with Golem, Jungle Heart, Una, and Druid, because they just cover every single base. So they're just such a solid front line. Like, you just can't go wrong with them in any of these LAIRs, lawful, evil, chaotic, because they just, like I said, they just hit every single base. You know, you got the attack down, you got the shield, you got the reduced buff, you got Druid taking the buffs off. Like, it's just such a perfect front line. And as you can see, our back line is taking very minimal damage until there because we had the debuff up. But we should have more than enough damage here to finish this off before anything else bad happens. And as you saw, anyways, the Pirate Captain had almost full HP. So he was doing great on the build that we had him on. And that's why we like to stack a little bit of HP on our Pirate Captain. So this way he could take hits and he is pretty much good to go. So I think that's going to wrap it up for this one, guys. I think you guys get the point. The main point of this video was to show you the build on Pirate Captain and where you could use your Pirate Captain. And I think we covered all of it. So let's just go over it one more time quick. You could, Hydra is probably one of the best places you can use your Pirate Captain, and chaotic LAIR. I would say those are the top two for him. Now, you can use him in all of these magics. Any single one of these dungeons, you could use your Pirate Captain. Now, we're going to skip Hydra again because the end result of this series is to have our free-to-play Hydra team. And I'm sure you can throw him in Leviathan, and as you saw, he did just fine in Colossus. Now, as far as Vapor goes, you could definitely use him in Vapor as long as you make a team around him. Paired with Yuki would probably be the best result for him. Same thing with Spire. As you saw in LAIR, you can use him in any one of the layers, Lawful, Evil, or Chaotic. I think he shines in Chaotic most because it's really hard to find damage dealers for Chaotic LAIR, especially if you're like mid, early game. So he definitely shines in Chaotic, but you can use him in all 3 layers. And for a 3-star, I think that's great already, that you can use him in so many different places. Now, if you really wanted to, you can use him in Arena, you can use him in Inferno. As you saw, he works fine as a farmer. You can use him in Pirate Treasure. And I wouldn't use him in World Boss again because he's a 3-star, and you're not really trying to use 3 stars in World Boss because your 4 stars are always going to shine over your 3 stars. But pretty much anywhere else, he's good to go. He just needs the right synergy around him, like you saw we did in this video. But that is definitely going to wrap it up for this one, guys. Thank you guys so much for the support. We're so close to 1,000 subs. We're going to be doing a huge giveaway soon on YouTube and Twitch once we hit the 1,000 sub mark. So I'm so excited for that. As you guys know, I recently got a creator code. You just click up there where your name is. You click on pack code. You type SpaceBallz in caps. You get an awesome reward, and it really helps me out as a creator. So thank you guys so much for your continued support on that. If you want to follow me on Twitch and Discord, both of those are in the description as always. Our random giveaway is always going on, so make sure you're sub to the channel, you're liking and commenting on all the videos to be a part of that. As always, I love you guys. I will see you in the next one. SpaceBallz out. Peace.